Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We have breaking news in regards to Pat King and his involvement when it comes to the Freedom Convoy, his involvement within the Freedom Convoy protest. If you watched this morning's video, and if you haven't yet, you should really go back and check it out. I'm talking about how the Crown has been drawing out this case over a long time because they're essentially grasping at straws to find any ways of convicting these people in their involvement in protesting our government. When you go back to the Coots 4 and you think about the unfair charges that came against those individuals that included jail time for protesting to make sure that we're treated fairly, the Crown is trying in every instance to now invoke a Carter application against Tamara Leach to throw her in jail by tying her to actions that Chris Barber took that I think, again, are unwarranted for the Crown to pursue. But now we are seeing an article coming out just moments ago that Pat King has been found guilty on several counts. Now, before we get into the article, I just want to remind everybody, censorship's at an all-time high on YouTube. If you're enjoying this content, please hit a thumbs up, comment on the way out. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure to do all the YouTube jazz. Let's get straight into it right here. I'm going to show this article again. I know people get mad that I show mainstream media sites like the Clown Broadcasting Corporation, as I'm doing here, but it's important because this shows the narrative of where we are in our political dealings. Pat King guilty of most charges for the role in the Freedom Convoy. It says here that a key figure of what becomes the Freedom Convoy protest that paralyzed downtown Ottawa in 2022 has been found guilty of most charges against him for his role. Superior Court Justice Charles Hacklin is delivering this decision at the Ottawa courthouse on Friday. King has been found guilty of 5 charges, including mischief, counseling to commit mischief, and disobeying a court order. He's been found not guilty on 3 charges of intimidation, counseling to commit intimidation, and obstructing a public or peace officer. Again, you can see Pat walking into the courtroom here. Over the 3 weeks of testimony heard in the spring and summer, King argued he was not guilty. The two sides had starkly different views on the role he played during the protests, however. Central to the case was the question of leadership. While the Crown contended his influence was undeniable, leaning on extensive evidence from social media, King's defense argued he was not in control of the convoy. Again, this is the big problem when I go back to this morning's video about Tamara and Chris. They are literally trying to pin leadership on somebody. The government wants somebody held accountable as a leader, as a grand conspirator in this massive protest, so that they can stick the boots to them. I'm going to get more into that later in the video. Pat's lawyer, Natasha Calvino, argued police and government barricaded protesters in downtown Ottawa, preventing them from leaving the city. Again, we've seen Tamara working with Ottawa's mayor to try and remove trucks, but again, they invoked the Emergencies Act before that could be done. She also pointed out to moments when King told supporters to remain peaceful and cooperate with authorities. We've seen this if you watched any of Pat's live streams throughout the Freedom Convoy. There was a time when police moved in at one of the sites to confiscate fuel. At which time I remember quite fully Pat walking around saying, "Just let them do their job. Let them do whatever they're doing. We're going to be fine. Don't anybody give them a hard time. It's not their fault." They're literally drawing at straws here to get whatever they can. King's arrest in February 2022 made headlines when he was taken into custody live on social media. His bail process was also contentious. After being kept in jail over concerns he would reoffend or violate his conditions, King was eventually released in July 2022 under strict terms, including bans on using social media and organizing protests. King's bail conditions again came into focus in August of 23 when he was briefly jailed for allegedly violating them. He denied the accusations but was ordered back into custody before being released a week later under tighter restrictions. This decision marks a pivotal moment in the legal aftermath of the Freedom Convoy, which drew international attention and led to the unprecedented invocation of the Emergencies Act by the federal government. This is shocking. This is absolutely setting the tone for what we should be expecting and what's happening with Tamara and Chris and all the other truckers that are being prosecuted following the Freedom Convoy. Clearly showing why it's been delayed for so long. They're literally looking for any reasons to convict. They're looking for a leader. They're looking for somebody to blame. And I honestly believe that a lot of what's happening is the punishment for the crime. You look at outlets like Rebel News that are funding the legal defense for a lot of these people through the Democracy Fund. The government essentially hates Rebel News. We all know that. But they're essentially saying we have endless resources on the taxpayer's dime to put you through the ringer, to run you through the courts. We are going to bankrupt your organizations by continuously pushing these court cases, these allegations, the delay after delay after delay to simply convict. Now, when you talk about charges to commit mischief, it's really not that big of a penalty. However, there's no mention in here if we're going to see more jail time, if Pat is simply going to have time served. I'm assuming those details will come down the line at some point. But what this does, when you look at Coots, when you look at what's just happened to Pat King, is it sets a very dangerous precedent as to what we can expect to happen with Chris Barber and Tamara Leach as they go back again on the 26th to hear just when the judge might make up her mind as to when she's going to announce a verdict and what's happening. Again, I feel they're grasping at straws. They want to make a martyr out of somebody. They want to hold somebody accountable. They want to ruin their lives. And I think what we're seeing here, folks, is the tip of the iceberg. One of the biggest points I would be curious to hear in this entire outcome is Pierre Poilievre, since he's gunning to be the next Prime Minister of Canada, since he at one point supported the truck drivers. He sure as heck enjoys mentioning them with his wife in his speeches. What is Pierre going to do when he becomes Prime Minister if these court cases are still being dragged out and stalled? Are we going to see some form of a pardon? I know that the justice system doesn't allow for intervening or things like that, but if Pierre was in charge and those court cases are still ongoing, is Pierre able to drop those cases against these individuals and essentially allow them to get back on with their lives? I'd be curious to hear his stance again on what is legally allowed, what isn't, what they can and can't do, where he stands on these convictions. That opinion coming from the next leader of this country is very detrimental in my mind at this point. I think we all need it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree with what happened to Pat King? Do you think that dangerous times could be coming ahead for Tamara and Chris? I certainly think the writing's on the wall. Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Again, make sure to leave a thumbs up or a comment on the way out. It does help the video. It gets past the YouTube censors and pushes the video out for others to see. This is important information to get out there, folks. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you join us here on the channel. Join me tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show, where I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, and we'll definitely be talking about this. We'll be talking about the ongoing court cases and everything that has happened this week in politics, as well as some back and forth within the YouTube community and your Q&A. It's always good to hear what you guys have to say outside of making these videos, and we look forward to seeing you each and every Friday here on the channel, again, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, right here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.